Now we turn to Jeff Ferry, Research Director of the Coalition for a Prosperous America. Jeff, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here, Scott.
In one of your articles, you write that China tries to whitewash aggressive trade practices. You argue that China's State Council white paper on trade issued last week is Beijing's way of making the case that they're playing by the rules of free trade. What is your take on this?
China is hurting with all the trade actions that President Trump has taken, and one of the strategies they've chosen was to publish a 71-page white paper which tries to argue very strenuously that they've been playing by the World Trade Organization rules. American companies are there voluntarily. They don't engage in industrial espionage, and basically it's 71 pages of hooey.
But what did you think? I mean, what else were they going to say in it? It's not like they would come out and say, no, actually, we're corrupt and we're not being fair in our trade policies. What else would a government say but that they were acting in the right way?
Well, what we want them to say is they will come to the negotiating table. They don't have to admit anything in public, but what they have to do is come to the negotiating table and say, we seriously want to have a trading relationship with the United States, and say to the administration, we're going to play by the rules in the following ways. I mean, there's room for a compromise here. So far, the Chinese have hung tough and are showing no willingness to compromise.
Well, that's the thing. They believe, according to these white papers, that they are. President Trump, the Trump administration, accuses them of trade manipulation or currency manipulation and other unfair business practices. Trump administration has tried in other countries, and it's worked, like what we saw this week with the deal to replace NAFTA, to put the hard steps first. Do you think that kind of negotiation policy is going to work in China, as it's a different type of country that we're working with?
I don't have a crystal ball. I hope it's going to work, but I'm not optimistic. I mean, this is a country, this is very different from Mexico or Canada or South Korea. This is a country that for 25 years has been engaging in practices to benefit its own economy at the expense of all of its trading partners. Letting them into the World Trade Organization was, I believe, a big mistake. Since then, they've manipulated all the rules to favor their own industries to achieve a dominant position through unfair trading practices, illegal trading practices, massive multi-billion-dollar government subsidies of industries ranging from steel to microchips, and then industrial espionage. And only today we read in Bloomberg Businessweek that they've actually sabotaged servers that are at the heart of data centers, at the heart of our internet, by planting microchips in there that are really spy bugs relaying information back to China. I mean, it is an absurd situation in which the U.S. technology industry, which I used to be proud to call myself a part of, has created a situation where 3/4, or in some cases 90% of our hardware that makes our internet go is manufactured in China, in a country that is, at best you could say, a rival, and at worst you could say an enemy.
Okay, so what do we do? Because Apple and Amazon have both denied that, oh, that's not happening, they don't have bugs in our systems. How do you handle that? How does the United States saying, you know, if the companies are denying it and China's denying it, how can we continue pressing and saying that it's true?
Okay, I'm not a security expert. What I'll tell you on the security side is when the security folks come into your company and they say, we've caught you doing this, they also say to you, and you will deny it to the press under federal rules or we'll throw you in the jail. And so I'm not surprised they're denying everything, and that's the right thing to do. The way you handle it, for me as an economist, as I said, security guys will give you a good answer on that side. My answer is we need to build our own hardware in safe countries, not just the U.S. Of course, we need to do a lot more tech in this country, but there are many other safe countries in North America, in Asia, and Europe that 30 years ago we built all of our computer stuff in those countries. We need to get back to that situation. If China doesn't change, we're looking at economically decoupling and disentangling ourselves from China. That's a good solution economically, a good solution on security grounds, and a good solution a good solution for innovation in this country as well.
Well, that's the tech sector. Let's move over to the subsidy programs and China's handling of them in the areas and the impact on trade like steel, glass, paper, and auto parts. Main things that the president has pointed out this week. How is China responding to that, and do we actually have any chance to kind of balance out and fair practice there?
You know, since 2007, China has said it's going to cut steel production and stop subsidizing these old, inefficient, highly polluting plants. So that's
But they haven't.
But they haven't. Absolutely
okay.
right.
Can we force them? As we Americans, can we go into their country and force them to do that?
No, we can't invade China. All we can do, as I said, I think the words are economically decouple. ourselves from China. But on steel, I mean, you know, we could talk about each one of these things if we had the time. On steel specifically, our tariffs have done a good job of pulling countries like Canada, Mexico, and South Korea, and even some of the Europeans into the tent, and we're all getting ready to face off against China and say to China, no, we don't want your excess steel. We want to see, and we're going to keep you out of the steel market until you rationalize. So there are actions we can take that are not invasion and are not, you know, dictating. They are an independent country. I believe in national sovereignty. We've got to work with their government. As long as they have this communist government, we need to work with it, but we need to find a way to bring it to rationality, to make it a good world citizen.
So is President Trump handling this the right way when it comes to negotiating for fair trade with China?
I think President Trump is doing a great job on trade with China. He's hanging tough. He's really shocked them. I think they've realized this summer, hey, this is one president who talks tough and then takes action on tariffs that really hurt their economy. And they're smarting right now, and their stock market is down. And the Communist Party, I believe, is working hard, trying to figure out what to do. We should know, by the end of the year, we will know which direction this is headed in.
Well, I know the direction that you just sent us was wonderful. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Scotty. A pleasure to be here.